Have you ever noticed how society promotes the idea that a man can only be happy if he's in a relationship? As if the life of a single man is incomplete, lonely, or even sad. But what if I told you that this is one of the biggest lies you've ever been told? The reality is that living alone doesn't mean being lost. On the contrary, it can be one of the most liberating and empowering experiences a man can have. But most don't realize this because they've been conditioned to believe they need someone to feel complete. Today, I'm going to show you the other side of this story, the side no one tells you. I'll prove that a man who masters his own life without being dependent on someone else has more power, more freedom, and more opportunities than anyone else. But as usual, if you're already grateful, then leave your like and subscribe to the channel, because after all, it's free. And I will continue to bring valuable lessons here for you to develop further, because that is my real goal here with you. And the first thing you need to understand here is what goes on in your mind and in the minds of most other men. If you don't have a girlfriend, what's said? That you're an incomplete man. And the worst part is, many men believe that. They think they need a woman to validate their existence, to feel complete, to have a purpose. But this idea is a lie that was planted in you from a young age. True fulfillment doesn't come from a relationship. It comes from within. Society has created a model where the single man is seen as someone who hasn't made it, as if lacking a partner is synonymous with failure. But what they don't tell you is that a man who learns to live well alone is a free man, free to follow his own plans without having to conform to others' expectations, free to seek personal growth without unnecessary distractions, and most importantly, free to find happiness without being dependent on another person's presence. What happens to many men is that they enter a relationship not because they really want to, but because they think they must. And this mentality is dangerous because it places happiness in someone else's hands. A man who relies on a woman to feel good will never be truly strong. He will always have a weak spot, the fear of being alone. And this leads him to accept anything, to tolerate disrespect, to give up on himself to maintain a relationship that often isn't even rewarding. True peace doesn't come from having someone by your side. It comes from knowing that you are capable of building a life that fulfills you, with or without a relationship. A man who learns to fill himself with his purpose, with his development, and with the things that truly matter will never feel empty. He understands that a woman can be part of his life, but never its center. For example, me. I used to be a man who didn't have many options, but still, I always took care of myself. And I did this in a simple way. For example, I always liked leaving the house and going to the lakeside. I was there alone, just me, God, and my thoughts. Sometimes I fished. Every time I caught a fish, it was like a small victory. It was something simple, but it felt good. And it's funny because at first I didn't even like fishing. But over time, I learned to appreciate that moment of peace, that time with myself. That, my friend, is freedom. It's the little things that make up happiness. It's not about being with someone. It's about being at peace with yourself. What I want you to understand is that there's no such story that a woman must come into your life to make you happy. If you invest all your happiness in another person, you're building your life on unstable ground. First, you need to find your purpose, understand who you really are, build something solid for yourself. And believe me, God is the solution to everything. But don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you have to stay single forever or never have a girlfriend. That's not it. What you need to understand is that your happiness and worth don't depend on that. You can have a relationship if you want, but it should be a conscious choice, not a desperate need. You should enter a relationship because you want to share your life with someone, not because you need someone to feel complete. And that's precisely why you need to take control of your life. A man who becomes independent doesn't need validation to make decisions. He doesn't wait for anyone's approval to walk his own path. And do you know why? Because the freedom of not having to ask for permission for anything is a power that few experience. Most men spend their whole lives without realizing they're always looking for permission. Permission to do what they want. Permission to follow a dream. Permission to simply be themselves. Many don't notice it, but they're constantly waiting for society, friends, or even a woman to tell them they can go ahead. That's an invisible prison. And the worst part, it's a prison they've built themselves. True independence is not only financial, but also emotional. And that means learning to deal with highs and lows without being dependent on others, without relying on someone to lift you up when you fall, without depending on a woman to make decisions for you, without depending on someone being by your side to feel complete. Because the truth is, if you don't learn to walk on your own, you'll always be a prisoner of the need for companionship. And as I said, yes, it's very nice to have a woman you love by your side. It's amazing to build something together with someone truly worthwhile. It's in our nature as men to create, to lead, to start a family. I myself don't have children yet, but becoming a father is one of my dreams. The day I can hold my child in my arms for the first time will mean a lot to me, I know that. But here's the difference. It's a desire, not a necessity. The problem is that many men confuse desire with necessity. They want a woman by their side. They want a family. They want love. And that's natural. But when they start believing they need this to be happy, everything falls apart because they place the key to their own happiness in the hands of another person. And anything that is outside your control will always be a risk. True strength comes when you understand that your happiness, your peace, and your fulfillment are your own responsibility. When you don't need anyone to feel complete, but still choose to share your life with someone because you want to, not because you have to. Now, I have something very important to tell you. I know you've experienced this before. You see this incredible woman. She crosses your path. There's eye contact, maybe even a subtle smile. Your heart beats faster, your head is full of thoughts, but you hesitate. Something holds you back. You feel this invisible pressure that prevents you from acting. But I really have the solution for you that changes everything. There is a small detail, a single difference that separates the men who succeed from the masses who fail. It's not about looks, money, or status. It's about knowing exactly how to approach and what to say, effortlessly, without fear and without rejection. And here's where the solution I prepared for you comes into play. Imagine having a method in your hands that turns every eye contact into a real connection, a proven way that teaches you to naturally generate attraction without seeming forced or desperate. A simple way to lead her from interest to desire, from desire to real connection, and from connection to a kiss, all without having to play games or pretend to be someone you're not. The thing is simple. The men who possess this ability live at the top of the pyramid, while the rest remain lost, making the same mistakes over and over, simply because they don't have the right knowledge. What seemed impossible before is now within your reach. And believe me, this is not something you can put off, because with each passing day, you let opportunities slip away while other men master this art and win over the women you'd like to meet. The choice is in your hands. If you want to stay in the same place and ignore this opportunity, that's fine. But if you decide to act now, everything can change for you, and quickly. The ebook is pinned in the comments, and once you have this knowledge, no one can take anything away from you. And then you'll always have the best women by your side. So click now and discover how you can turn every opportunity into an unforgettable moment. And furthermore, after understanding all this, true male freedom comes when you realize that being single is not loneliness, but a space to create your own reality. It's not just about being without a relationship, but about what you do with that time. Many men see being single as emptiness, when in reality, it's a huge opportunity for growth. If you've ever tried to get into a relationship with someone and it didn't work out for some reason, understand one thing: it wasn't meant to be, and that's not a problem. In reality, it's a space that God gives you so you can build something greater. Life doesn't take a relationship from you. It gives you the chance to better prepare for one that truly matters. But what do most men do? They force themselves into a relationship out of fear of being alone. They believe they need a woman by their side to feel complete, to be accepted by society, to prove something to others. That's one of the biggest mistakes. When a man enters a relationship only to fill an inner void, he becomes a prisoner of that relationship. He starts acting out of fear of losing, gives up on himself, and stops developing. The time you spend being single is key to your self-understanding. During this time, you truly discover who you are, what you want, what values you hold, what passions you have, and what you need to work on. This is the moment to work on your personality, strengthen your mindset, and align your actions with your goals. It's the phase where you can explore new hobbies, invest in your personal development, and above all, build your financial freedom. Look, when you're in a relationship, especially one you don't even want that much, the pressure increases. You no longer have the same space to breathe, to make decisions freely, and the greatest responsibility falls on you. It's natural and right for a man to have to take care of something, but that requires structure. If you haven't built your foundation yet, you're just adding weight to a weak base. Of course, the woman also has her responsibilities in a relationship, but at the end of the day, the greatest burden will be on you. You have to be the leader. You have to maintain stability. You have to ensure things flow. And if you're not ready for that, the relationship becomes a ballast instead of a construction. That's why the right way is not to run away from relationships, but to prepare properly for them. If you're alone now, instead of lamenting or looking for a quick fix, use this moment. You don't have to accept every person just to fill a space. You have the power to decide who comes into your life and who leaves it. That's freedom. That's living with purpose. And once more, to truly be a smart guy, you must make use of what I'm telling you here. Because look, when you apply these concepts in your life, everything starts to change. You begin to see things differently. You start to realize what's truly important. And the next point you need to understand is that any man who truly wants to grow must learn to invest smartly. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about something even more valuable: your time and your energy. Your time is your most valuable asset. Your energy determines the quality of your life. And the big question is, where are you investing it? If you're chasing people who don't appreciate you, you're wasting your most valuable resources. Superficial relationships just drain your vitality. They make you exhausted, frustrated, and in the end, they take you nowhere. So, my friend, you have to cut ties with those who don't strengthen you. Think about it. How many times have you sent a message to someone who didn't even bother to respond properly? How many times have you held on to a connection that basically just brought you down? That has to stop. You can no longer waste your energy on people who don't appreciate you. The focus is different now. The focus is on investing in those who truly recognize your worth. And look, when I talk about cutting connections, I don't mean you should become a cold person who never talks to anyone again. That's not it. What I want you to understand is that your connections need to be strategic. You need to be surrounded by people who add something to your life. People who push you forward, who challenge you to become better, who want to see you grow. This also means reconnecting with those who truly matter, with real friends, with your family, with your own core. Because in the end, true happiness doesn't come from an empty relationship. It comes from knowing who you are, what you're capable of, and being surrounded by people who truly want the best for you. And look, something you should never cut out of your life is content like this. I know I'm not the best in my field, but I want to be, and I will become the best. Because my commitment here is to you. I'm here to add value to your life, to help you see things differently, to give you insights that will truly make a difference for you. Now, with those who don't appreciate you, who add nothing to your life, that's exactly where you need to learn to distance yourself. And more than that, you must learn to better select the people who enter your life. Because that, my friend, determines your growth. Now, here's the thing. I have something important to tell you. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now. And leave a comment below, anything, even if it's just a simple, "I'm here." These are 3 simple actions that take less than seconds but make a big difference. When you do this, YouTube recognizes that this content has value and continues to deliver more videos like this to you. And more than that, you motivate me to continue bringing content that can truly change your life. And there's more. If you want to take a step further, if you really want to learn in practice how to approach any woman, have an engaging conversation, use the environment to your advantage, and truly connect without relying on luck, then download your ebook now. In it, you'll receive advanced, concise knowledge that gives you a huge advantage over most men. So, without wasting time, do it now. Now, understood, our next step here is one of the most important, the art of self-confidence. And look, I have to tell you a story. I know a man who, before I developed and invested heavily in my personal growth, was one of those guys who picked up a lot of women. But he did it in a superficial way, and always had the need to prove something to others. He was the type who liked to boast, to mock others, especially those who weren't at his pace. And it was no different with me. I was always more reserved. Even back then, I had some women, as I said, but that was never my main focus. I always thought bigger, yet he constantly mocked me and said, that way you'll never get anyone. He thought success with women was about chasing after everyone. And then one day he started making fun of my appearance, as if that defined who I am or my worth. And then I looked at him and said, "Man, in this life, everything can be changed, except death." He immediately fell silent, because that's the truth. Everything you don't like about yourself can be changed, and what you can't change, you learn to carry with pride. And that's why I say, don't rely on your self-esteem from others. Now, let me make one thing clear. That doesn't mean you should just accept yourself as you are. If you're overweight and know that's not good for your health, then you need to change that. But not for others, for your health, for your energy, for your life. Because without health, how can you live fully? But the main thing here is, don't rely on the validation of others to feel good. Improve yourself because you want to. because you know you deserve more. Because when you naturally improve, you're already above most men. And you know why? Because most don't want to change. Most prefer to remain stagnant. So do it for yourself. That's the true art of self-confidence. The less you seek external validation, the more respect and admiration you naturally receive. Those who understand their own worth become more respected, more confident, more desired. All right, man. Now it's up to you. If you've made it this far, I want to challenge you. Comment below, "I'm in the game," because this simple action will solidify everything you've learned so far. When you write, you commit. And more than that, you activate a mental trigger of commitment that prompts you to truly act in your life. So before you proceed, pause and comment now. I'm in the game. Now we come to the last point, and this one is crucial. My friend, understand this once and for all. Every phase of your life is an opportunity for a new beginning, to rewrite your story. So stop seeing challenges as failures. See them as liberation, an opportunity to create the life you truly want. The past? The past doesn't define the future. What shapes your destiny is what you do today. So, if at this moment you're without a woman by your side, that doesn't make you a failure. It just means you have a unique opportunity to develop, to grow, and to create your best version. Now, if you're alone and stuck, without development, without progress, without getting out of stagnation, then yes, the fault lies entirely with you. But if you use this time to develop, to look at your weaknesses and improve them, to improve your mindset, personality, emotional intelligence, appearance, body, finances, then, my friend, the best women will naturally come into your life. Quality women don't seek desperate men. They are drawn to men who already have a built life, a mission, a purpose. So, your focus should be on that. Work on yourself, because when you become a man of high value, you don't have to chase. You simply choose who comes into your life. And that's it for today. If this content made sense to you and you want a part 2, comment here already. I want part 2. Depending on your response, I'll bring the continuation of this content. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, leave your like, and download your ebook to take the next step in your development.